G'day Bomber fans, we are getting to that stage of the year where list managers awaken from their slumber to swing the axe. Unfortunately for us to build our list for the future, tough calls will have to be made now. Players will be on the way out even if they deserve another year or two on an AFL list. So today, I'm going through all of our out of contract players and chucking on my Adrian Dodoro hat to say whether or not I personally would delist the player or keep them. Keep in mind, clubs usually get rid of around 10 players per season, whether it's retirements, trades or delistings. I won't be talking about trade. I won't be talking about players that are not out of contract like James Stewart or Tex Wanganeen, for example. I will only be discussing out of contract players and delisting maybe 6 or 7 of them. That's the amount we have not offered contracts to in the last few years. Also, before I get into it, I just want to give a quick shout out to the guys over at Absolutely Essendon. Their videos are like mine, but way more fun. So if you get tired of listening to me ramble on, go listen to them ramble on. They are nearing 1,000 subscribers, so let's get them there before the end of the season to help build this Bombers community. Alrighty, alphabetical order, we may as well start with Andrew Phillips. I mean, there's not really much we can do here. The guy is unfortunately retiring. If it was my choice, I wouldn't mind him going around for another year because he's been excellent this season, the way he's played, the way he's managed the club without Draper. But it isn't my choice. He is retiring, so we will bid him farewell. Alistair Lord, his time is unfortunately nearing an end with us. He has had 2 years on our list and is yet to really be that close to playing AFL minutes, aside from when we had heaps of players out with the flu last year against Hawthorn. Since then, he hasn't been close to making his debut. He shows glimpses every now and then in the VFL, but we have enough players in his position. This is an easy decision for me. Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti, this is a harder call to make because he's a fan favourite. At his best, he's one of the best small forwards in the league. He's one of the most exciting players in the league, but to get him back on the field playing near his best seems a hill too steep to climb. I think he either retires or we delist him the way things are going. He probably eats a fair chunk out of our salary cap as well. It's tough because he's always been a favourite of mine. I love the guy, but I think it's time for his career to come to an end. I'd love for him to prove me wrong though next year and kick 40 or 50 goals. That'd be great, but I'm going to delist him now. BZT, I think we're all a bit nervous about this because we all want him to stay. He's linked with a trade to Port Adelaide, but this isn't about trades. If I had to choose between delisting and keeping him, I'm keeping him every day of the week. He is an important player for us in defence. Easy choice. Another easy choice, Cian McBride is going to be delisted at the end of the year, unfortunately. It's always a risk picking up international players based off talent in other sports. The Irishman has been on our list since 2019, I think. We had an exemption to keep him an extra year last season, so he should have been gone by now, but he had another year to prove his worth on the rookie list and unfortunately didn't do so. He's very athletically gifted, but struggled in the VFL, so we're delisting him. Darcy Parish, we obviously want to keep this guy. I don't care what anyone says. He is a crucial cog in our midfield. He is a clearance machine, one of the best in the comp for it, one of the best for contested possessions, former All-Australian. He's a fantastic player. We keep him if he wants to stay. Dyson Heppell, this is an interesting one. I almost wish I made a video like this earlier in the year so I could compare my thoughts because he looked cooked in the first few rounds. He was used as a sub a bit. He's been one of our most consistent players this year since then, though. He looks fitter than he has in the last 5 or 6 years. He barely needs a rest anymore. I don't know where it came from, but I would love for him to go on an extra year, maybe even 2 if he plays this well next season. Harry Jones, this is a player I wish didn't get injured this year. I would have loved to have seen him more. I see the potential in our forward line. He could be a real player eventually. It would make no sense for us to get rid of Harry Jones instead of Pat Voss and Jaiden Hunter, and I don't see a world where we would say farewell to all 3, so I am keeping Jones. Speaking of Jaiden Hunter, our mid-season draftee, it's unfortunate, but I think he's one we probably have to part ways with. It's tough because he could be a player. We haven't seen much, but we have so many key forwards on our list. Wright, Jones, Voss, Stewart, Hunter, even Wiedemann, I guess. We can't justify keeping all of them, and I think Hunter is at the bottom of the pecking order. I would be delisting him, sorry. Maybe controversial because, well, he only played 2 or 3 VFL games before his injury, but tough calls need to be made to bring other players in. Jye Menzie, second-year player. He has played a lot for us this year, played 18 or 19 games, kicked 20-odd goals, has applied good forward pressure. I like the look of him for the future of the club. He is still only young, remember, so we're keeping him for sure. Kaine Baldwin, I genuinely don't know what we are going to do with him. It's a really tough one. He has been with us for 3 seasons now, I think. He's played, what, 6 or 7 games. That's not really enough to justify an extension based on history. He has shifted positions additions, I think, which might help his case. I think that's also the thing that worries me most, is the fact that he hasn't broke into this defense with all the injuries we have had. It could be a case of VFL star not making a stamp in the AFL. He's been very good in the VFL, remember. I'm going to keep him, but hesitantly. I would like to see another year because he has been great in the reserves, like I said, but if we were to delist him, I would understand. It's definitely the toughest of the calls we have to make, I'd say. Massimo, this guy's done enough for me. I like him on our list. He's really versatile. He is quick, good ball user. I think he has a role as a sub, which is unfortunate for him. I like him as our sub, though, when he plays. I can see why he would want to leave if the rumours are true. It's not a very fulfilling role coming on for, what, a quarter each week. But he is only 19 or 20, remember. Played a fair amount of footy for us. I like his place on our list. Bryan, I mean, with Andrew Phillips retiring, his spot is solidified. He had already done enough, though, in the last couple of weeks to suggest an extension anyway. He's been pretty good this year, shown signs. He is still a baby for a ruckman. They take longer to develop, so I think it would be pretty silly to part ways with him. We all agree on this one, I think. Pat Voss, this is a really tough one. I know every Essendon fan loves him. They're calling for him to play, but you look at what he has shown. It's not that much compared to other forwards on other lists. We have lots of key forwards, remember? I went over it before. He is quite low down in the pecking order, and if he can't break into that forward line with the injuries we've had, when is he going to play? Especially when players return. We're going to have players come back next year. We legit decided to play just Kyle Langford for a round or two as our key forward instead of giving Voss his debut. I'm 50-50 with this guy. I think there are better options around that we could look at. There are players like Wade Dirksen and Brodie McLaughlin on other lists having more of an impact than Voss right now. He's never really done enough to demand a debut, in my opinion, consistently. I think his ceiling is lower than other key forwards. Without him, we have Wright, Jones, Wiedemann and Stewart next year. If Hunter does get delisted, which he should, it leaves the door open for us to try bringing in a fringe player or a draftee, while also having a go at Ben King or something the year after. I think if we're serious about developing our forward line for the future, Voss probably has to go. I know it's unpopular. He is much loved. I am reluctantly going to delist this guy. I'm sorry. Leave your comments down below. I just think if we want a good key forward, we can't already have 5 or 6 on our list. If Stewart retires this season, things will be different, but he is contracted for next year, keep in mind. We could redraft Voss as a rookie. He is one of 2 players I would be interested in doing that too. Rhett Montgomerie, we're getting to a really tough part of the video. A few months ago, if I made this video, I would have said keep, but watching VFL games recently, you wonder how far he can really go in the AFL system. He is mature age, 23, I think. I like him as a player. I think he is great in the VFL, one of our best, but I can't see him being more than that. He is not the type of player you can envision being on a grand final winning team. He might supply us with handy depth, but keep in mind, next year, in theory, we should be getting players like Zach Reed back. Lewis Hayes will be coming along. Our draftees will be there. Again, our defense has been so low down in terms of stock at times this year through injury. If he was going to play, I think he would have already. I can only really see him going down the pecking order in the coming years. I'm going to delist Rhett Montgomerie. And finally, Will Snelling. This is another tough one. We have 6 delistings, 1 retirement. I think for us to have a good trade period and a good draft, we need another spot. I really do rate Will Snelling. I thought he was awesome in 2021. He has shown signs of it this year. Not enough, I'd say. I love him at his best. Underrated pressure and link up forward, but he has been in and out of the team. We have lots of small forwards coming through. I think Snelling is a player we can reluctantly delist with the possibility of bringing back through the rookie draft. Snelling or Voss in the rookie draft, maybe. It's a tough decision. So that is that. That was not a very fun video to make. 8 players out. That is probably going to vary a bit. This is just my opinion, remember. I'm not predicting what is going to happen. There is always the possibility of Stewart or Heppell retiring or players being traded. But these are the 8 players I reluctantly part ways with. This was tough. It's tough to make these decisions. I think you have to understand, to bring players in, you got to lose some that are unlucky. If you want us to be active in the trade period in the draft, players like Voss, Snelling and Montgomerie got to be at least thought about from a delisting view. But that's that. Let me know what you think down below. I know some of you, or plenty of you, will disagree with my decisions. It's an open discussion. No one is right or wrong. And cheers for watching. Go Bombers.